So I like to light a candle whenever I come into this type of space. Um, it's special and sacred, and the burning of things kind of sets things apart. There's a sacred act to burning of sort of washing away the old and evoking the new. Um, Morning, Michaela. But specifically from a behavioral perspective, sometimes when we light a candle and when we engage our senses, right, when we can do something to disrupt our senses and interrupt a pattern and move us in a different direction, and oftentimes scent can be such a huge part of that. That's why people burn incense, or that's why people use their essential oil diffuser, to intercept their state and reroute it into a new type of state. So all of that to say, if there's something that you want to do this morning, if you'd like to dim your lights, or I've got this special tree light that I've got lit in the corner. If you'd like to light a candle, if you'd like to burn some sage or some Palo Santo that's ethically sourced, or if you'd like to, do anything like that that sort of brings you into this sacred moment, I would invite you to do so. And I would invite you to kind of explore what those things might mean for you. It might mean rubbing essential oils on your body, or rubbing lotion on your body, or something like that. Just something to sort of shift you from whatever it is that you have been doing into what we're going to do right now, which is a discussion and exploration about living in appreciation. So, good morning, my friends. Welcome. Thank you so much for being here, whether you're live or on the replay. It's such a joy to have you, and it's such a joy to start my day with you in this way. So thank you for being here. Thank you for showing up, whether it's now or on your own time later. Truly, I hope that this work is powerful for you, and I hope that showing up for yourself in this way changes your day whenever you receive it. So maybe we all just kind of approach this with the anticipation that whatever we learn here today is going to change us. It's going to make us better, make us more whole, more alive, more grounded in some way, shape, or form. So that's my hope, my wish, my prayer, my invocation here this morning. So today we're here to talk about living in appreciation. And usually, when I do these morning rituals, I usually bring something that I'm either learning in my own life or something that I'm really seeing bubbling up in multiple of my clients' lives. It's amazing, this work, how it happens, how it's like there's a thread of commonality that I'm experiencing and the people in my field are experiencing. So then I take that thread and I kind of flush it out, and then I bring it back to you in the hopes that it will also be helpful to you in some way. So what does appreciation mean to you? If you look up the definition for gratitude and appreciation, it seems that those words are interchangeable. So if you've got a journal or anything that you like to write with, I'd like you to kind of write down, like, what comes to mind when you think of appreciation. And maybe we could have a little small conversation about the difference between appreciation and gratitude energetically. Not to bring, I bring my own experience to the call. So, when I talk about living in appreciation, it brings to mind the conversations that I've had around gratitude. And I feel that gratitude is such a catchphrase these days. And I can't even tell you the amount of times that I hear clients tell me, like, they bring me their problems. They bring me their real, true pain that is awake and alive for them in that moment. And they're so quick in their minds to say, oh, but I have so much to be grateful for. Oh, but I should be grateful. Oh, but there's people out there that have it worse than me, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And while all of those things may be true and probably are true, I find that they're not helpful, right? That minimizing our own experience under the guise of I should be grateful can be harmful over time. And so that's kind of one dimension of this that I guess I want to lead with today, is that, I have a lot of clients that if I came to them and said, I really think you should practice living in gratitude, they might punch me in the face, right? And I kind of say that tongue in cheek, but the reason that that is because when people are in real actual pain and dealing with things that have yet to be solved in their life, what that means is that in their nervous system, they're holding the energy of that struggle. And so when you tell someone to shift from the energy and the real pain of whatever it is they're dealing with and flip the script to the exact opposite into gratitude, often that feels really inflaming to the nervous system because it's just so far away from what we're currently experiencing, right? So when you tell a nervous system that's triggered and inflamed and filled with struggle to practice gratitude, it can end up having the opposite effect that we want it to have, right? Because then we're trying to like fabricate a state that we feel like we quote unquote should be in, which is a shameful sort of mechanism to propel us towards gratefulness, gratitude to begin with. And then it's inauthentic to what the nervous system is already experiencing. I have this kind of image in my mind, this theory that I use, that it's like our cells get filled with whatever emotion it is that we're experiencing, right? So if we're in fear or pain or worry and it feels so big and overwhelming, it literally fills up our cells. So then you try to slap gratitude into that, it just doesn't stick, right? Because the cells are already full of the state of the emotion that you're already currently feeling. So in order to actually practice gratitude or to live from the essence of appreciation, what we have to do first is process through whatever emotion we're currently feeling so that it can soften and transition itself into a more neutral state, more neutral expression. And this just comes through letting the emotion out, right? Letting it pass through you, whether that means you cry or you punch a pillow or you scream in your car or you journal until your pen breaks or whatever, that you let all of that out of your system so that then in your cells you return to a more neutral state, right? And from that neutral state, your nervous system will be far more apt to receive the mechanism of gratitude or appreciation. So all of that to say is a lot of people think that gratitude is spiritual bypassing. And I would tend to agree a lot of times that when we practice gratitude, we're bypassing over the things that make us uncomfortable to try to get to the good stuff, thinking that the good stuff, thinking that shift from the struggle to the good stuff will stick. But it often doesn't because we miss that second layer, right? So this isn't a conversation about spiritual bypassing. This isn't a conversation about practicing gratitude at all costs. This rather is a conversation about finding authentic moments where we can connect to the emotion of appreciation, because now I'm going to flip the script, because all of this is a both and, my friends. It's not an either or. So everything I just said, right, hold that in one hand, that a nervous system that is inflamed cannot receive the opposite emotion, right? It's very difficult. So we hold that in one hand. But then in the other hand, we also know from the process of manifestation that it's actually the ability to connect with that emotion even though your circumstances don't fully promote it, that will allow you to shift into fully embodying that emotion full time and bringing your surroundings around to express it. So let me try to say that a little more concretely. So it's actually the act of connecting to appreciation and gratitude that creates the canvas on the inside to create reasons, quote unquote, for more appreciation and gratitude. So it's that ability to connect to that emotion that will in turn create more of that emotion in return. So while we don't want to bypass whatever it is that we're currently feeling in order to get to gratitude, we also have the job of seeking gratitude and appreciation wherever we can find it, so that we can find those little pockets of what it feels like and start to build, to expand and compound upon those pockets. Whew, that felt kind of heady, but also like that felt good to me. How did that feel to you? What questions do you have so far about this sort of like conundrum of gratitude and appreciation. Okay, so that's sort of the conundrum and where we find ourselves in this spiritual bypassing world. So again, we're not here to get to gratitude at all costs. It's not this like Pollyanna, be positive, you know, find the best in every situation. It's not that. It's saying, here's real life day in and day out. And if we don't seek to connect with and live the essence of appreciation and gratitude, we might never taste it. And if we never taste it, then we're certainly never going to get to a place where we feel it as our baseline, right? Or feel it as like a new normal, okay? So that's kind of the context as to why I think that this is important, is that that we have to understand why it's difficult for us to access gratitude and appreciation, and we also have to understand why it's important for us to try, okay? So what's next? I believe that appreciation could be the foundation, the crux of all relationships. Okay, and I tend to like the word appreciation more than gratitude. For me, gratitude is sort of just like, I kind of roll my eyes a little bit when I hear it, and maybe I need coaching, I don't know. Excuse me, but for today, I think I'd like to use the word appreciation. Appreciation feels real to me. It feels anchored. It feels like I know what appreciation looks like, and I feel like appreciation comes more naturally to me than gratitude. Gratitude feels a little more fabricated. It feels a little bit more like a should, something I should feel. But appreciation, it just in my system, it feels like something that's more easily accessed than gratitude. So I'm going to use the word appreciation. But what I know about men in particular, because I date and am dating a man, is that men tend to really thrive when they feel appreciated. And I think the same is true for both sexes or all orientations. But I know for a fact that men specifically really thrive when they feel appreciated. And so I think when we think of negative cycles in relationships, for me in my relationship, most of the time when we get caught up in a negative cycle, it's because one or both of us feel unappreciated. But I know that when we both are showing appreciation for one another, literally saying thank you for the little things, literally noticing what each one brings to the table, what each one brings to the scenario, and choosing to say thank you for everything you do for me and for us every day, and meaning it, looking into his eyes. Thank you for snow blowing for the millionth time this week. You know, I really appreciate that. I don't want to do it. You're good at it. I appreciate it, right? And so I know that intimate relationships really thrive on appreciation. And when both people are showing appreciation, it can really create what we call that positive spiral, where you're looping, but you're looping upwards, right? In a way that's uplifted and self-generative and has momentum and feels good. That's the most important part. It feels good, right? And so like maybe it's an important moment to share, like, feeling good feels good, and it's okay to feel good. I think that sometimes we have some shame, or we feel like we shouldn't feel good even though we want to, and everything we're doing is like taking steps to make ourselves feel good. But really, like, it's okay to feel good. It's okay to enjoy your life. It's okay to feel good inside of your body. It's okay to like yourself. It's okay to love your life. It's okay to love the things around you, right? And so part of this conversation is the ability to love your life and to give yourself permission to connect with those places inside of your life that really feel good. So appreciation, in my mind, is the cornerstone of all relationships, not just romantic and intimate, not just with your partner, but with your children, right? With your coworkers, with your parents, right? With your family of origin, with your extended family, with your neighbors. Like, take a moment in your journal to jot down, like, who in your life can you show appreciation to that you maybe aren't? Maybe it's your mail person. Maybe it's your delivery person, right? Like, who in your life really serves you? Who makes your life a lot better? And how can you say thank you in a way that you really mean it? Okay, so what if we left this conversation with the knowledge or the belief that appreciation is the cornerstone of all relationship? Again, not just romantic, not just even with people, but with our environment, with our resources. Coming back to the attitude of gratitude. See, yeah, that's just like tongue in cheek, but it flows off the tongue really easily. That attitude of gratitude with all interactions that we have with the things around us. So I'm going to just take a few more minutes here. I have something that I want to read to you, and then we're going to finish with a breath practice. But in 2023, my intention is to be more concise. So I'm going to try to do that right now. So appreciation is the cornerstone of all relationships, not just with people, but also with resources. I'm reading this book called Braiding Sweetgrass for our book club here at the Cave in Minnesota, and it's just blowing my mind. It's written by an indigenous Native American woman who's a botanist, a scientist, and she uses the allegory of sweetgrass and plants in nature to build metaphors about, between science and nature, between human living beings and living beings in nature, and kind of how they all intersect, and where we have opportunities to live even more closely with our environment and in relationship with the environment that supports us. So I think the key element that I would like to share from this book in particular is that the natives, the indigenous population, sees resources as a relationship. They see the trees and the plants and the fruit and the nuts and the animals. Their language labels those beings as a they instead of an it. Whereas European languages, the English language, has way more nouns than verbs. So the English language tends to view quote unquote inanimate objects as it, right? So plants, animals, it's an it instead of a they. And so I would suggest to all of us that it's those subtle shifts of beginning to see our resources as a they instead of an it that will cultivate more appreciation and connection with everything that we interface with the land, with our food, with our water, with each other. So viewing things that our culture kind of sees as more towards inanimate, more as living theys instead of its. So let me share this part with you. There's this chapter called Allegiance to Gratitude, and her name is Robin Wall Kimmerer, and she shares her people's tradition of it's called the Thanksgiving Address, and it's multiple paragraphs, and it can be short or it can be long, and it's a traditional Native American ceremony where they give thanks to all the different layers and all the different levels of beings that participate in this relational economy, this relational ecology. And she says, you can't listen to the Thanksgiving address without feeling wealthy. And while expressing gratitude seems innocent enough, it is a revolutionary idea. In a consumer society, contentment is a radical proposition. Recognizing abundance rather than scarcity undermines an economy that thrives by creating unmet desires. Gratitude cultivates an ethic of fullness, but the economy needs emptiness. The Thanksgiving address reminds you that you already have everything that you need. Gratitude doesn't send you out shopping to find satisfaction. It comes as a gift rather than a commodity, subverting the foundation of the whole economy. That's good medicine for the land and the people alike. So this shift towards gratitude, towards enoughness, towards appreciation for what we have rather than this incessant longing for what we don't have yet, it can shift you, it can change you, it can shift the way we interface with everything around us. So I think that that's really beautiful and really important. So I would recommend reading this book. It's quite lengthy, quite dense, but it's also really beautiful and touching, and I appreciate all of the inquisition it has invited into my life since I started reading that book. So let me tell you what this feels like for me on the inside. I shared on my Instagram yesterday that this feeling of living appreciation has been on my heart lately, and I'm going to share this thought that I'm having with you, and it sounds a little defeatist when taken out of context. So I don't want you to take me out of context. I would love for you to hear everything I have to say about this. But there's this thought that I keep thinking about, like, what if this is as good as it will ever get? Like, what if life right now is the best that it will ever get for me or for us, and I'm missing it. And I'm so focused on what I don't have yet, or building my business, or whatever, and this is the best it will ever be, and I don't know that. And so the context that I was alluding to is that I don't truly believe that this is the best that we'll ever get. But that feels like a helpful thought for me when it comes to appreciation of, like, my partner, something could happen to him tomorrow and he could be gone, right? And so if that is true, like, this is the best that this will ever get right now, and it is for me to really enjoy this. What's another example? This might sound silly to you, but this feels very real to me. So we subscribe to this meal service called Green Chef, and I can't tell you how much joy it brings me. I can't tell you how it's so much fun for me to choose our meals, and then we're always like cooking together, and it's always different, and I don't have to shop for it, and it's just, it really, really works for us, and I really look forward to it. And so with everything that's going on in the world, like, sometimes I have, as like everyone else does, fears about supply chain issues or not having access to food. And so every time I open that Green Chef, I'm just flooded with appreciation of, like, I'm so lucky and blessed, and I can't believe I get to eat this good food, and look at the people that prepared it, and look at from where it came from, and look at how it's nourishing us. And Nate has the job of chopping, and then I put it all together, and it's such teamwork. And my mom bought us these new knives for Christmas, and it just all fits, and it's all so good. And I think to myself, like, if this ever goes away, like if Green Chef isn't possible or something happens, like, I want to savor this, pun intended. Like, I want to savor this food, this experience. Like, I'm so lucky to be eating like this, and I'm so appreciative, right? So I don't want to coach us towards scarcity thinking or mindset or fear that we can only enjoy things because we're afraid they're going to go away. That's not my point, but it's connecting with the reality of, we don't know what's going to happen in our world, and since we don't know, it behooves us to connect with that preciousness, to connect with that finiteness every single day, so that we can live each day powerfully, authentically, purposefully, and appreciation can be fuel, a mechanism to drive that. So my coach, Lindsay Mango, some of you have heard me coach on this before, or share this before. She has this brilliant concept called practicing hindsight in advance. And maybe that's just a different way of sharing with you my thought that I just shared with you, that maybe this will be the best it will ever get, right? To just really understand, like, this moment is a gift, and we don't know what the next moments are going to bring. What Lindsay says is that it can be really helpful to, like, put yourself in your body, like if you have small children, or if you're going through a tough season, to, like, put yourself in your body of how it'll be for you when this is all over, and you're looking back over your shoulder and kind of longing for this day from a future self, right? So kind of recognizing that, like, while today presents its challenges, today also has its own unique gifts that won't be available tomorrow, right? And so if we can practice hindsight in advance, if we can practice hindsight before we're looking over our shoulder at it, if we can practice hindsight actually in the present moment, wow, then we can really sink our teeth into presence, and we can really sink our teeth into appreciating what this moment specifically brings that won't be available in future moments, right? So maybe that's a helpful way for you to practice appreciation, is to practice hindsight in advance. One other trick I might offer you is, so we've got sort of three practices if you want to write those down in your journal. Like, if this is the best it will ever get right here, right now, like, what does that mean? What does that look like? What does that evoke in you to really be appreciative of? The second part is, like, how can I practice hindsight in advance, right? So whatever season you're in, when that season is over, what will you look back on and think? And then the third part is, um, you know, this old tool for practicing gratitude that I learned from the old yoga studio that I used to work at is, excuse me, it can be very helpful when practicing gratitude at the end or the beginning of your day to list three new things that you have to be grateful for. Three new things in the last 24 hours that you can be appreciative of. And what this does inside of your brain, because so often, like, we go to, like, you know, there's this whole thing that, like, people in undeveloped countries, their struggle lives on the outside, but people in developed countries, their struggle lives on the inside. Yeah, that's just what it is. That's what read the other day. I thought it was really an interesting distillation. But for us in our systems, I think as Westerners, people who are in a developed country, I think when people ask us to be grateful, we default to this, like, should, or like, well, I have food on the table, and I have this and I have that, but that we have that every day. And so it's our systems have a hard time being really grateful for something that we just have every single day. Does that make sense? And so the whole point of practicing gratitude, of practicing appreciation, is that it evokes a feeling inside of you, a feeling of peacefulness, a feeling of warmth, a feeling of thankfulness and openness, and that it would make you feel something. So if you're practicing gratitude and you still feel like shit, then maybe we can change that approach. And so one other way to do that is to think of three new things in the last 24 hours. And so that really is an impetus to your brain to be creative and to really look at your life through the lens of, like, really in the last day, what has happened that I can appreciate? And that has a tendency to evoke more real sensation and emotion rather than the things that we think that we quote unquote should be thankful for. And that doesn't really evoke the same type of emotion. So three new things that you can be grateful for in the last 24 hours. That's my nighttime practice. I write it in my journal every night before bed, and it's really a beautiful way to fall asleep. So the last thing that I want to say is that this is a practice, and that in a second we're going to do a breath practice to kind of evoke this. But in my experience, it's hard for me to, like, lay back in meditation and be like, okay, let's appreciate things, right? Like, that feels manufactured, and it's important, and we're going to do that in a second, because that's part of practicing our spiritual practices, is connecting with those emotions or sensations in the practice so that we can expand them in real life. But what this looks like for me, my friends, is this everyday presence of, like, washing dishes and, like, seeing a bird flutter down onto the branch outside and just, like, really appreciating where I live, and, like, just being in that moment and letting that moment just wash over me, right? Or, like, cooking for Christmas and for the holidays, and those smells and the scents and just the white twinkle lights, and just letting it flood in, and just noticing in those moments, like, really appreciating the life that I built and really appreciating everything that I've been given, right? So more than, like, a prescription or, like, this thing that we do to access appreciation, I would really encourage you to notice it in the small things, in the basic things, in the foundational things. Like, get back to the simple things in life and practice presence to the degree where you can really let these beautiful gifts wash over you just in the minutes and hours and nooks and crannies of your day. And that for me has been when it really comes alive, in the songs that I'm singing, in the water in the bathtub, in the feel of the snow on my face. So find those moments for yourself, let them in, and let that sense of appreciation and gratitude flood your system, and see what it creates in your life. Okay, so let's finish with a breath practice. I'm going to teach you 3 mudras. So the first mudra is called Hiranyagarbha. Bring all 10 tips of your fingers together, and then bring all the rest of your hand apart. So it's like this big kind of ball with your hands, and you set this at your abdomen. So your sacral chakra, which is the house of all creation. And Hiranyagarbha in Sanskrit translates to mean unmanifested cosmic womb. So this is like anything that hasn't come alive in you yet, you're asking it to be manifested out of the cosmos, right? So we start here at the abdomen and we use the inhale for Hiranyagarbha. We tap into the unmanifested cosmic womb. And as we inhale that up from the depths of the abdomen, we flip the palms into Lotus Mudra. So you literally, Hiranyagarbha is fingertips down, fingertips together, palms apart. Lotus Mudra is the reverse of that. Fingertips up, fingertips apart, and then pinky edge and thumb edge of the hand together. It literally looks and feels like a lotus flower that sits directly at your heart. And this mudra is like a funnel for unconditional love straight into your center. All right, so this is like a huge flooding of love and appreciation and gratitude and blessings straight into your heart center. Okay, so we inhale Hiranyagarbha, Lotus Mudra, all the way up to palms up and overhead, pinky sides of the hands to touch. This is, if you bring your palms to touch, that's Anjali Mudra, the seal of gratitude. This is an expression, just an alternate expression of Anjali Mudra, where the palms are open, but the pinky sides touch. And then as you exhale, you just offer it all away, palms up, and then hands come down to the earth. So it's an inhale through your mouth. Exhale through the nose. Inhale through the mouth, lips like a straw. Exhale out through the nose. It's a long, slow, cozy breath. Inhale. Exhale. And just continue. We'll be here for about a minute, a little bit more together. So let's just kind of enjoy this. I'll kind of talk to you a little bit as we go. So you keep going while I talk to you a little bit. Amrita translates to mean immortality or breath of nectar. So this breath of sweetness, right? And these three mudras together really cultivate just the pulling of all these blessings up from down low and then offering them back. And one thing that I didn't say during the lecture portion, but I'll say it now, is that living in appreciation, living in gratitude, cultivates living in relationship, right? A give and a take, a participation, a receive and an offering, right? And so this breath practice, the inhale, we receive, we fill up with all this goodness. And then on the exhale, we give it back. We return from whence we came. So feel how living in and from appreciation inspires us to give back. It fills us up so we can move and live from that fullness. That living in appreciation inspires us to give of ourselves, which in turn inspires others to give of themselves, which then inspires us to give of ourselves. It's an upward spiral, up, 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 up. Just fill your heart, fill your body, and then give it all back. Take one more full breath cycle. And just hold in receptivity pose now. Turn your palms up to the sky. As eyes open or close, just be for a moment. Take all this goodness inside from the breath practice, from the words that we shared today. Even if it's not perfectly clear right now, just choose to believe that this is for you, that there's something here for you today. There's something here for you to make your life more balanced, more peaceful, more whole. For you to participate in the relationship with life in a way that feels good and promotes an upward cycle for us all. Bring your hands to your heart. Take a full breath in. And a big breath out. All right, my friends. That's what I have for you today. I hope that was useful for you. Drop in the chat any questions, anything that came to you today. What are you going to be appreciative of today? What are 3 new things in the last 24 hours that you can really train your mind on? Feel free to share. You can share it with me here now. You can send it to me later. This is the deep work that we do in yoga and in coaching, my friends. And so, the way you interface with concepts like this on the inside directly affects the way you interface with life on the outside. All right, so I am an expert when it comes to doing internal work in a way that puts boots on the ground into your external life. So this is the best work I've ever done. I know it's the best work you'll ever do. So if this inspires you, if this motivates you, reach out to me. Let's schedule a free call and let's work together. It's a new year and nothing changes unless we change, right? And I believe that from the yoga and the coaching perspective, that when we do our internal work and we don't stop there, right? When we do our internal work and we take it out into the world, that is when things will really start to shift. Not just within our own selves, not just within our own households, but out in the whole world. So do this internal work to benefit us all.